The first handful of dirt hit the coffin, and I felt my knees weaken as if the earth itself wanted to swallow me with him. My husband Daniel was gone, or at least that's what everyone believed. The priest's voice blurred into the background, his words sounding hollow against the roar of my own thoughts. People around me sniffled, sobbed, and clutched their black handkerchiefs, but I stood frozen, staring at the polished wood box that supposedly carried the man I loved more than life itself. I wanted to scream, to rip the coffin open and demand answers. How could this happen? How could Daniel be gone so suddenly? Just last week he had kissed me goodbye before heading on his business trip. 2 days later the phone rang and a cold, official voice told me his car had crashed in another state, and his body was unrecognizable but confirmed through documents. That was it. That was how I became a widow overnight. As the mourners lined up to toss roses into the grave, I pulled my phone out of habit, my hands trembling. I wanted to look at pictures of Daniel, to feel closer to him in some way. That's when I saw it. My heart stopped. A new message flashed across the screen, from a number I hadn't saved but somehow recognized in my bones. The message read, "I am alive. Trust no one." The world tilted. My vision blurred, and for a moment I thought I was fainting. I stared at the screen again and again, certain my grief had made me hallucinate. But no, it was real. The timestamp was clear. Just now. In the middle of his burial. From Daniel. I clutched the phone so tightly it hurt. My chest heaved, my breath sharp and broken. I looked around, terrified someone might have seen the shock in my face. Everyone was focused on the coffin, on the dirt, on the final goodbye. No one knew what had just landed in my hands like a lightning strike. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stood there, numb, the echo of Daniel's words, "Alive, trust no one," ringing inside my skull. My husband wasn't dead. Or at least that's what he wanted me to believe. But if that was true, who was lying in the coffin? And why would he let me think he was gone? That night, after the guests had left and the house felt emptier than it ever had, I locked myself in the bedroom. My fingers hovered over the phone, my mind torn between calling back and staying silent. But before I could decide, another message appeared. "Do not call. Do not reply. They are watching you." I dropped the phone onto the bed, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. They? Who were they? My family? My friends? The police who had shown me the accident report? Everyone I knew had been at the funeral today. Did Daniel mean one of them? The next morning I couldn't take it anymore. I needed answers. I drove back to the cemetery before sunrise, the sky still gray and heavy. The grave was fresh, the soil still damp. I stood over it, hugging myself, whispering Daniel's name. That's when I saw something that made my blood run cold. There were footprints. Fresh ones. Leading directly to his grave. I followed them a few steps and then they stopped. Just stopped. Like the person had vanished into thin air. I turned in circles, my stomach twisting, when my phone buzzed again. "You shouldn't be here. Go home. They'll know." My knees gave out and I sank onto the cold grass. Was he watching me right now? Was he nearby, hiding in the trees? My eyes scanned the cemetery, but I saw nothing. Just silence. Just graves. I drove home with shaky hands gripping the wheel, every car behind me feeling like it was tailing me, every stranger's glance carrying suspicion. Inside the house, I locked every door and window, drew the curtains and sat in the dark. That's when the front door creaked open. I froze, barely breathing. "Emily." A voice called softly. My sister, Claire. I nearly collapsed with relief. She stepped in with her usual warmth, carrying bags of food. She hugged me tightly, whispering, "You don't have to go through this alone." But as her arms wrapped around me, I remembered Daniel's warning, "Trust no one." I pulled back, studying her face. Claire had been there for me through everything, but now doubt clawed at me. Was she one of them? I wanted to tell her about the messages, to see her reaction, but fear kept my lips sealed. Instead, I smiled faintly and thanked her. Later that night, while she slept on the couch to keep me company, I checked her bag. Inside, beneath the groceries, I found something that shouldn't have been there. A small black notebook. I opened it and my heart lurched. Inside were notes. About me. About Daniel. About his accident. Pages and pages written in Claire's handwriting. The last line read, "Phase 1 complete. She believes he's dead." I gasped so loudly Claire stirred in her sleep. My hands shook as I stuffed the notebook back, my mind screaming. Phase 1. She was part of this? What was going on? Before I could process it, my phone buzzed again. Another message from Daniel. They're inside your home. Do not trust your sister. I looked over at Claire, her chest rising and falling peacefully on the couch. My stomach turned to ice. And that's when her eyes snapped open. Her eyes snapped open so suddenly that I stumbled backward, the notebook nearly slipping from my hands. Claire sat up slowly, her gaze locking onto me with a sharpness I had never seen before. Gone was the comforting sister who had promised to stay the night. In her eyes I saw something cold, calculating. What are you doing with my bag? She asked, her voice calm, too calm. I swallowed hard, forcing a nervous laugh. I was just looking for some tissues. I thought I saw... Emily, she interrupted, standing now, her bare feet silent against the carpet. You shouldn't go through people's things. Especially when you're so fragile. Fragile. The word cut like a knife. I clutched the notebook tighter, praying she hadn't noticed it wasn't in her bag anymore. My heart thundered so loud I was certain she could hear it. I backed toward the hallway, murmuring something about being tired. Claire only smiled, a strange, almost knowing smile, as she sank back onto the couch. But her eyes never left me, not even when I turned away. In my room I locked the door, pressing my ear against it, waiting to hear if she moved. But all I could hear was my own pulse hammering in my ears. I pulled the notebook out, flipping through the pages again. Phase 1 complete. She believes he's dead. Surveillance confirmed. Contact with in-house. And then one line that made me stop breathing. Target will be relocated once she breaks. Target. Me. I clapped a hand over my mouth, terrified that even my breathing might give me away. Daniel had been right. Claire wasn't here to comfort me. She was part of something bigger. The phone buzzed again. I nearly screamed, muffling the sound with a pillow. Another message. Leave the house now. Go through the back. I'll guide you. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed a coat, stuffed the notebook into my pocket, and crept to the back door. The floorboards creaked like gunshots under my feet, each sound threatening to wake Claire. I pushed the back door open as quietly as possible and slipped out into the cold night air. The street was dark and empty. My phone buzzed again. Left. Keep walking. I obeyed, clutching the phone like it was the only thing tethering me to safety. Every few steps I glanced over my shoulder, certain I would see Claire following, her shadow stretching long under the streetlights. But she never appeared. After a few blocks the messages stopped. I stood on a deserted street corner trembling. I typed back this time, my fear boiling over. Daniel, where are you? Please, I need to see you. For a moment silence. Then finally. Soon. But not yet. If they know I'm alive, everything collapses. Trust no one. Tears spilled down my cheeks. My husband was alive, but he was treating me like a pawn in some nightmare game. I wanted to scream at him, to demand answers, but before I could, headlights swept across the street. A black SUV slowed as it approached me, its windows tinted too dark to see inside. My gut told me to run. I bolted into an alley, my shoes slapping against the pavement. The SUV screeched as it turned, following. My breath came in ragged gasps, the fear clawing at my throat. I darted through side streets, over fences, through someone's backyard, until I finally collapsed against a brick wall, shaking uncontrollably. The phone buzzed again. Don't go home. They know where you live. Find a motel, any place crowded but cheap. Pay cash. I'll find you. My hand shook as I hailed a cab, giving the first motel name I could remember. When I arrived, I paid in crumpled bills, avoiding the clerk's eyes. Inside the dingy room, I locked the door and pressed my back against it, sliding to the floor. I finally let myself cry, my sobs filling the silence. My husband was alive. My sister was betraying me. Strangers in SUVs were hunting me. My world had turned into something out of a nightmare, and I had no one to turn to. Or at least I thought I didn't. The next morning, a knock came at the motel door. My heart stopped. I crept toward it, pressing my ear to the thin wood. Room service, a voice called casually. I hadn't ordered anything. My stomach flipped. Slowly, I pulled the curtains back just a sliver. My blood ran cold. Standing outside wasn't a motel employee. It was Claire. And in her hand she held a gun. Claire stood there, her hand steady, the gun glinting faintly under the morning light. My breath caught in my throat, my body frozen in terror. How had she found me? I hadn't used my credit card, I hadn't told a soul where I was. And yet here she was like a predator at my door. The knock came again, this time louder. "Emily," she called, her voice softer now, coaxing. "I know you're in there. Please open the door. We need to talk." I stumbled backward, my mind spinning. We need to talk? With a gun in her hand? No, this wasn't my sister anymore. This was someone else, someone I didn't recognize. The phone buzzed in my pocket. I fumbled to read the message. "Do not open that door. Escape through the bathroom window. Now." My pulse raced. I turned toward the small bathroom, its cracked tiles and buzzing light offering the only chance of survival. I yanked the window open, but it was barely wide enough. My shoulders scraped against the frame as I shoved myself through, gasping in pain. Behind me, the motel door rattled violently. Claire was trying to force it open. "Emily," she screamed, her voice raw. "You don't understand what you're doing." I dropped to the ground outside, rolling onto the dirt, my knees scraping open. I scrambled to my feet and bolted, running behind the motel, not daring to look back. Every step felt like I was running for my life because I was... Another message buzzed. 2 blocks east. There's a cafe. Blend in. Don't let her see you. I ran until my lungs burned, until my legs screamed for rest, but fear kept me moving. I found the cafe, crowded with morning customers, the smell of coffee and baked bread filling the air. I slipped inside, hunching low in a corner booth. Minutes crawled by. Every time the door opened, I flinched, terrified it would be Claire. But instead, a man slid into the booth across from me. His face was hidden beneath a baseball cap and sunglasses. "Emily," he said softly, and though I hadn't heard that voice in days, my entire soul recognized it. "Daniel." Tears spilled before I could stop them. My husband reached across the table, grabbing my hands. His touch was warm, real, alive. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to scream at him, kiss him, hit him, beg him to explain. "You're alive," I whispered, my voice breaking. "Oh my God, you're alive." He squeezed my hands tighter. "I didn't die in that crash, Emily. I faked it." The words hit me like a gunshot. Faked it? My head spun. Why? Why would you do this to me? Do you know what I've been through? Daniel's jaw clenched, his eyes darting around the cafe nervously. I had no choice. There are people after me, after us. I discovered something at work. Something I wasn't supposed to know. They wanted me dead. So I made them think I was. I shook my head in disbelief. And Claire? She's with them, isn't she? His eyes darkened. She's not who you think she is, Emily. She's been working against us for a long time. She's dangerous. The cafe door opened. I stiffened. My blood turned to ice. Claire walked in, her eyes scanning the room like a hawk. Daniel cursed under his breath. They found me. We need to go. He pulled me up, gripping my hand as we slipped through the back exit into the alley. My heart pounded as we ran, weaving through narrow streets until we ducked into an abandoned warehouse. Only then did I finally let go, shoving him back, tears streaming down my face. You let me believe you were dead, Daniel. You let me bury you. His face twisted in pain. I know, and I'll never forgive myself for that. But it was the only way to keep you alive. Before I could respond, a loud click echoed through the warehouse. I spun around. Claire stood at the entrance, the gun raised, her face pale but determined. You should have stayed dead, Daniel, she hissed. Now it's too late for both of you. Her voice cracked like a whip across the hollow warehouse. My chest seized and instinctively, I stepped in front of Daniel, even though my body trembled with fear. Claire's eyes, once the gentle eyes of my sister, were now sharp and cold, brimming with a hatred I couldn't comprehend. Claire, why? My voice came out in a whisper. Why are you doing this? You're my sister. My blood. Her lips curled into something between a sneer and a smirk. Blood? Don't you get it, Emily? You were always the shield. The distraction. The one they'd never suspect. You were perfect. My mind reeled. Perfect for what? Daniel's voice cut in low and steady. She was feeding them information, Emily. Long before the crash. She's been working with the people trying to kill me. Claire's jaw tightened. Trying? No, Daniel. I was promised you'd be dead. And you ruined everything by crawling back. Her finger tightened on the trigger and I gasped. Daniel moved fast, pulling me down just as the gun went off. The deafening bang echoed through the empty warehouse. Shards of concrete sprang from the wall behind us. We scrambled behind a stack of rusted barrels, my heart hammering in my chest. Daniel, I whispered, tears streaming down my face. She's my sister. I can't. She's not your sister anymore, he hissed. Not the Claire you knew. If we don't stop her, she'll kill us both. The footsteps echoed closer, steady and deliberate. Claire's voice rang out, taunting. You can't hide forever, Emily. You think Daniel loves you? He doesn't. He's only keeping you alive because you're useful to him. Just like you were useful to me. The words cut deep, burrowing into my chest. I glanced at Daniel, searching his face. For a fleeting second, doubt flickered in my heart. He saw it. He leaned in close, his voice fierce. Don't listen to her. That's what she wants, to break you. I clenched my fists, the notebook heavy in my pocket like a silent witness. Phase 1 complete. She believes he's dead. It was all true. Claire had been part of this from the beginning. My hands shook, but for the first time, anger began to burn hotter than fear. I stood suddenly, stepping out from behind the barrels. Claire's eyes widened in surprise. Emily, no. Daniel hissed, trying to pull me back, but I shook free. I faced Claire head-on, my voice trembling but strong. If you want me, take me. But leave him. Her smile was slow, cruel. Finally, some sense. She raised the gun, pointing it directly at me. But before she could fire, Daniel lunged from behind, tackling her to the ground. The gun clattered across the concrete, sliding toward me. My hands moved before my brain could catch up. I grabbed it, the cold metal burning in my palms. Claire and Daniel wrestled, grunting, their faces twisted with rage and desperation. My heart pounded as I aimed the gun, my hands trembling violently. Emily! Claire screamed, her voice raw, desperate. Don't you see? He's the liar. He let you bury him, he played with your heart. Shoot him, not me. Daniel's voice broke through the chaos. Emily, listen to me. Trust what you know. Trust what you feel. For one terrifying second I stood frozen, the gun wavering between them. My sister. My husband. One truth, one lie. Yet both cloaked in shadows I couldn't fully see. And then, in a single breath, I chose. The gun roared. Claire's scream tore through the warehouse as the bullet struck her shoulder, sending her sprawling. The weapon clattered from my shaking hands, my knees giving out beneath me. Daniel rushed forward, kicking the gun away before Claire could reach it. She lay there, clutching her wound, her eyes blazing with hatred. This isn't over, she spat, her voice hoarse. You don't know what you've started. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder by the second. Daniel grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the exit. We have to go. Now. We burst into the morning light just as police cars swarmed the area. I collapsed against him, sobbing, my entire body trembling from shock. Officers stormed the warehouse, shouting commands, dragging Claire out in cuffs. She glared at me one last time, her eyes promising revenge even as she disappeared into the chaos. For the first time in days I could breathe. I leaned into Daniel, my chest heaving. Is it over? I whispered. He kissed my forehead gently, but his eyes were heavy, shadowed. It's never over, Emily. Not with people like them. But as long as we're together, we'll survive. And in that moment, with the echo of gunfire still ringing in my ears, I realized something I would never forget. Sometimes the people you love most wear the cruelest masks, and sometimes the only truth you can cling to is the one beating inside your own heart. Daniel was alive. Claire was gone. And I had survived. But deep down I knew my story was only beginning.